A very good morning, children, and welcome back to the English online class. Children, in today's online session, we are going to start with a new chapter, that is chapter number 13, and the name of the chapter is A Day in the Country, which is written by Anton Pavlovich Chekhov. I repeat again, the name of the chapter is A Day in the Country, which is written by Anton Pavlovich Chekhov. So, children, first let us talk about the author Anton Pavlovich Chekhov, who was born on 29th January 1860 and died in 15th July 1904. He was a Russian playwright and a short story writer who is considered to be among the greatest writers of short fiction in the history. His career as a playwright produced four classics, and his best short stories are held in high esteem by writers and critics. So that was all about the author. Now let me ask you few questions before we start the chapter. So children, what do you think are some of the disadvantages of living in a city? My second question is, if you are given a chance, where would you like to spend your vacations? A city or a serene countryside? So these two questions, children, think about it and discuss with your friends or your brother sisters. Now let's talk about the chapter, and before heading towards the chapter we will first see the main characters in the chapter. The first main character is Fyokla. She is a 6-year-old girl and a beggar. She shouts the uncles for help to free her brother Danilka from a tree. The second main character is Terenti. Terenti is the protagonist of the story. He is a cobbler who does not look like the hero type. He is described as a tall, old man with a thin, pock marked face, very long legs, and bare feet, dressed in a woman's tattered jacket. The third main character is Denilka. He is Fyokla's brother whose arm got stuck in a tree. He is 8 years old. Now, the fourth and the last main character is Silanti Silich. He is Terenti's bosom friend and the sacristan. Sacristan means, children, the man in charge of the church. Now, let me introduce you about the chapter, and before start to read the chapter, let's talk about the chapter. In a short, I'll describe you. In a village, a 6-year-old little girl named Fyokla came running through. The village were preparing for a storm. Fyokla was asking everybody, uncle, how she calls the people in village. Fiocla was able to receive help from a man named Terenti, who is a tall old man with a thin, pock-marked face, very long legs and bare feet, dressed in a woman's tattered jacket. He does not look hero type. Fiocla asks to help free her brother Denilka, whose arm got stuck in a tree. Terenti agreed, disregarding the storm to help Fiocla's brother and ensuring Fiocla in a fatherly manner that he will free him. Eventually, he freed Danilka. The children eventually loved the old man. Terenti may not look like it, but he answers all questions. And there is no secret in nature which baffles him. He knows everything. All the villagers know as much as he does, but the children love him because he is willing to share his knowledge and time with the two orphan children. So, children, who are the two orphan children? That is Fiocla and Denilka. All three retire to a deserted barn after the children spend a day with the old man. Terenti shows sincerity and love for the two orphan children. What is the meaning of orphan? Children, the meaning of orphan is the children, those who are not having their parents. So now let's move towards. Terenti comes back later and puts bread under their heads and prayed for them while they are asleep. In this way, Terenti tries to make the lives of Fiocla and Denilka a little better than his own. So children, this was a short introduction of the lesson. Now we will move towards the reading of the chapter. Now children, let us begin with the chapter A Day in the Country. Between 8 and 9 o'clock in the morning, a dark leaden-colored mass is creeping over the sky towards the sun. Red zigzags of lightning gleam here and there across it. There is a sound of far-away rumbling. A warm wind frolics over the grass, bends the trees and stirs up the dust. In a minute, there will be a spurt of May rain and a real storm will begin. Fiocla, a little beggar girl of 6, is running through the village, looking for Terenti the cobbler. The white-haired, barefoot child is pale. Her eyes are wide open. Her lips are trembling. Uncle, where is Terenti? She asks everyone she meets. No one answers. They are all preoccupied with the approaching storm and take refuge in their huts. At last, she meets Silenti Silich, the sacristan, Terente's bosom friend. He is coming along, staggering from the wind. Uncle, where is Terenti? At the kitchen gardens, answers Silenti. The beggar girl runs behind the huts to the kitchen gardens and there finds Terenti, the tall old man with a thin, pock-marked face, very long legs and bare feet, dressed in a woman's tattered jacket, is standing near the vegetable plots, looking with drowsy, drunken eyes at the dark storm cloud. On his long, crane like legs, he sways in the wind like a starling goat. Uncle Terenti, the white headed beggar girl, addresses him. Uncle darling. Terenti bends down to Fiocla, and his grim, drunken face is overspread with a smile, such as come into people's faces when they look at something little foolish and absurd, but warmly loved. Ah, servant of God, Fiocla, he says, lisping tenderly, where have you come from? Uncle Terenti, says Fiocla, with a sob tugging at the lapel of the cobbler's coat. Brother Denilka has had an accident. Come along. What sort accident? Oh, what thunder! Holy, holy, holy. What sort of accident? In the Count's copse, Denilka stuck his hand into a hole in a tree and he can't get it out. Come along, uncle. Do be kind and pull his hand out. How was it he put his hand in? What for? He wanted to get a cuckoo's egg out of the hole for me. The day has hardly begun, and already you are in trouble. Terenti shook his head and spat deliberately. Well, what am I to do with you now? I must come. I must. May the wolf gobble you up, you naughty children. Come, little orphan. Terenti comes out of the kitchen garden and, lifting high his long legs, begins striding down the village street. He walks quickly, without stopping or looking from side to side, as though he were shoved from behind or afraid of pursuit. Fiocla can hardly keep up with him. They come out of the village and turn along the dusty road towards the Count's copse that lies dark blue in the distance. It is about a mile and a half away. The clouds have by now covered the sun, and soon afterwards there is not a speck of blue left in the sky. It grows dark. Holy, 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 whispers Fiocla, hurrying after Terenti. The first raindrops, big and heavy, lie dark dots on the dusty road. A big drop falls on Fiocla's cheek and glides like a tear down her chin. The rain has begun, mutters the cobbler, kicking up the dust with his bare, bony feet. That is fine, Fiocla, old girl. The grass and the trees are fed by the rain, as we are by bread. And as for the thunder, don't you be frightened, little orphan. Why should it kill a little thing like you? As soon as the rain begins, the wind drops. The only sound is the patter of rain dropping like fine shot on the young rye and the parched road. We shall get soak. Fiolka mutters Terenti. There won't be a dry spot left on us. Oh ho, my girl, it's run down my neck. But don't be frightened, silly. The grass will be dry again. The earth will be dry again. And we shall be dry again. There is the same sun for all of us. A flash of lightning, some 14 feet long, gleams above their heads. There is a loud peal of thunder, and it is and it seems to Fiocla that something big, heavy, and round is rolling over the sky and tearing it open, exactly over her head. Holy, 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 says Terenti, crossing himself. Don't be afraid, little orphan. It is not from spite that it thunders. Terenti's and Fiocla's feet are covered with lumps of heavy, wet clay. It is slippery and difficult to walk, but Terenti strides on more and more rapidly. The weak little beggar girl is breathless and ready to drop, but at last they go into the Count's copse. The wash trees, stirred by a gust of wind, drop a perfect waterfall upon them. Terenti stumbles over stumps and begins to slacken his pace. Whereabouts is Denilka? He asks. Lead me to him. Fiocla leads him into a thicket and, after going a quarter of a mile, points to Denilka. So, children, this is all for today. and we will take a pause here. So we will continue the remaining portion of the chapter in the next session. Thank you and have a nice day.